Now, I've already broken down exactly how I would draft from an early spot, a middle spot, or a late spot on ESPN and Yahoo, but now it's time to do it for Sleeper. Now, if you have a draft coming up on ESPN or Yahoo, you can find the links to those videos down in the description. I will also link to one of them at the end of this video, but for right now, we're doing a Sleeper draft. Sleeper is getting a lot more popular. I know a lot of you draft on Sleeper. We mock on Sleeper, so I'm going to show you exactly how from an early, middle, or late pick I would draft. I'm going to tell you exactly which player I would take in every single round and why. Now, I'm going to start with an early pick. If you already know you're going to have a middle pick or a late pick in your Sleeper draft, I got chapters down below. You can skip ahead to that part. But for the third straight time with an early pick on Sleeper, I'm taking Tyreek Hill, who currently goes pick number 2. Talked about him on both those videos. This guy was on an absolute tear last year before that Week 14 ankle injury. You can pass on Christian McCaffrey, a running back here, because I feel like there are good running backs later. So just grab Tyreek Hill. He's got tremendous upside, and he's probably, I don't want to say safe because nobody's safe, but maybe the safest pick here. Now, in round 2 at pick 23, we're going to go Chris Olave. I got to be honest, I'm a little nervous about this Saints offense right now, but I think Chris Olave is going to get so many targets. They're going to use more pre-snap motion, more play action. I think it's going to be okay for Chris Olave here at the end of the second. And then why am I okay passing on Christian McCaffrey in round 1? Because I can get running back Isaiah Pacheco in round 3, currently going pick 28. If I can get Isaiah Pacheco as my RB1 and get 2 stud wide receivers in rounds 1 or 2, I'm going to absolutely do that. I've talked about Pacheco over and over again, calling him a league winner this year. He's in a great situation. He's a great player. So give me Pacheco as my RB1 in round 3. In round 4 at pick 48, let's grab an elite tight end. I don't generally go tight end this early, but if I can get Trey McBride at pick 48, I'm going to do it. This guy should be a top 5 tight end this year in this Arizona offense. Sure, Marvin Harrison going to get the most targets, but McBride's probably going to get the second most. So give me McBride, pick 48 as my tight end 1. And then in round 5, I'm going to take the incredible discount on Devonta Smith at pick 49 on Sleeper. I don't know why Devonta Smith is so low on Sleeper, but take advantage of it. I've talked about this guy over and over. Potential league winner. Even with A.J. Brown, I think he's going to be great. I think both these guys are going to be absolute studs. So give me Smith in round 5 at pick 49. Now in round 6 at pick 69, let's go with our RB2, Ramondre Stevenson, another guy I've talked up a ton this offseason. No, I'm not going to call him a league winner or anything like that, but I think he could be a high-end RB2, mainly just because of the pass catching. He's going to be a workhorse running back in this Patriots offense. As our RB2, that's just fine. Then in round 7 at pick 75, another guy I love this year, Chris Godwin, wide receiver for the Bucs. Talked about how he's going to be back in the slot like he used to be. I think we could see something close to what we saw back in 2019 when this guy was the overall wide receiver 2 before his injury. I really think he could outscore Mike Evans this year. So Chris Godwin in round 7 feels like stealing. Then in round 8 at pick 95, another wide receiver that feels like stealing is Deontay Johnson. He's going to be the absolute target hog in this Panthers offense. Dave Canales is going to revive this offense. It's going to be better than it was last year. Deontay Johnson still in his prime, still a great wide receiver. I'm buying into him, especially at this price. Now, we've waited till round 9 for our QB, but it's okay because I will take Caleb Williams at pick 101. He's in a great situation this year. He could be this year's CJ Stroud, this year's real breakout rookie quarterback. He's got DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Keenan Allen, Swift out of the backfield, Kmet at tight end, a great offensive line. Everything is there for Caleb Williams, and he's looked great this preseason. So I'll take him if I'm punting QB. All right, we have 2 good running backs, but we need some depth here. Let's start in round 10 at pick 120 with Blake Corum. I know right now he's just a handcuff, but he might be the best handcuff in fantasy football because if anything happens to Kyron Williams, he's getting almost every single touch in this Rams backfield. So let's stash him on our bench just in case. And the reason why I don't mind taking a pure handcuff when we don't have an RB3 yet is because in round 11 at pick 122, we can just grab Jerome Ford, the RB1 for the Cleveland Browns, at least for probably half the season, if not more. Only Deontay Foreman, Pierre Strong Jr. behind him. Chubb, we don't know when he's going to be back. Jerome Ford is going to be a workhorse running back for the Cleveland Browns to start the season. A team that will lead the league in rush attempts and play at one of the fastest paces. Jerome Ford in round 11, absolute steal. And then with our last pick in round 12 at pick 142, let's grab one more kind of high upside flyer running back. That is Jalen Wright of the Miami Dolphins. If anything happens to Raheem Mostert, this guy is going to take that role over from him. He's a tremendous talent. He's got juice. This is a great situation for him. Let's gamble on him with our last pick. So picking from an early slot on Sleeper, our team looks like Caleb Williams at quarterback. I'm fine with that. Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, Blake Corum, Jerome Ford, and Jalen Wright at running back. We have 3 running backs we should feel very good about early in the season, and then 2 guys who have the potential to explode if things break right. At wide receiver, we're going Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, and Deontay Johnson. All some of my favorite wide receivers this year. Nothing to say here, but I love it. And we were able to snag an elite tight end with Trey McBride. Love this team from an early spot on Sleeper. Now, if we have a pick in the middle, I'm starting my draft with Amon-Ra St. Brown, currently going pick 7 on Sleeper. I've talked about this guy over and over again, has the potential to be the wide receiver 1 this year. Don't really need to rehash this. I feel like I've talked about him on almost every video, so take Amon-Ra St. Brown, be happy, and move on. Then in round 2 at pick 20, let's grab our RB1 with Derrick Henry. I love Derrick Henry in this Ravens offense. No, we're not going to see 1,500 plus yard Derrick Henry ever again, but we could see 15 touchdown Derrick Henry in this offense, and that's going to be good enough as our RB1. Now in round 3 at pick 29, I'm going Mike Evans. I know I said I think Chris Godwin can outscore him, but I still think Mike Evans is going to be great. This guy has tremendous touchdown upside. He was great last year with Baker Mayfield. No reason to think that'll change, so getting Evans in round 3 feels fine to me. Now in round 4 at pick 43, take the discount on DK Metcalf here. I've called this guy a league winner. The Seattle offense are going to use more motion, more play action. It's going to be a dynamic offense, a different offense. And DK Metcalf is still going to be the top wide receiver. So take him in round 4 at pick 43. Now in round 5, let's take the Texans wide receiver going last on Sleeper, and that is Tank Dell at pick 54. Another guy that's going to have incredible weekly upside. I know he's competing with Nico. I know he's competing with Diggs, but he's still young. He's still great, and he's looked absolutely healthy this preseason. Nothing to worry about here. I think Tank Dell is going to be a stud this year, so take him in round 5. Then in round 6, another guy I think is going to be an absolute stud, tight end Evan Ingram at pick 67. He's been nothing but incredible his 2 years in Jacksonville. Why is that going to change this year? It's not. Evan Ingram could even see an increase in touchdowns this year as Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones vacated 31 red zone targets. Some of those are going to go Evan Ingram's way. If this guy gets 6, 7, 8 plus touchdowns this year, watch out. He's going to be a league winner. Let's follow him up in round 7 with QB Kyler Murray at pick 78. I've talked about Kyler Murray a ton. This guy has top 5 QB upside. We're getting him in round 7. We don't have to spend an early pick on one of those elite QBs. We can get an elite QB a little bit later. Kyler Murray, take that discount. Now we've waited on running back, but it's okay because in round 8 at pick 91, we can get Javonte Williams. I've called him a league winner. He's going to be the workhorse running back in Denver. He's going to catch a ton of passes this year in that Sean Payton offense. 2 years removed from ACL. Don't be surprised if his efficiency goes way up too. I think Javonte Williams has league winning potential, so getting him as our RB2 this late feels very good. And then we can follow that up in round 9 at pick 107 with Tyjae Spears, another high upside running back. I know he's splitting with Tony Pollard, but I like his juice. I like his pass catching. It wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the season, he's slightly ahead of Tony Pollard. So let's grab him in round 9 as our RB3. In round 10 at pick 118, another high upside running back, Chase Brown. I will say I'm a little nervous about Chase Brown. I don't like the way he's looked in preseason, always trying to bounce runs to the outside, not just hitting the holes. But maybe that changes as the season goes on. If something happens to Zach Moss, they're going to have to rely on Chase Brown. He's got explosive ability. He's got pass catching ability. So let's gamble on him in round 10. Now in round 11, pick 126, a wide receiver I'm just now coming around on is Jacoby Myers, and that's because the Raiders announced Gardner Minshew as the starting QB. I know people are going to say, like, it's okay to draft Adams. Look at what Pittman did last year. Sure, but Pittman ran over half his routes were just slants and curls, basically just layup routes. This is a good thing for Jacoby Myers, not so much of a good thing for Devontae Adams. I think Minshew's noodle arm is actually better for Myers than Adams. Adams will still be fine, but Jacoby Myers will probably also be fine, and we're getting him 9 rounds later. And then finally, let's bolster our running back depth in round 12 at pick 140 with Rico Dowdle. I still think this guy's going to be the RB1 in Dallas. He's a good pass catcher. He's a good enough runner. He's in a great offense. So let's get him with our last pick to bolster our running back core. So drafting with a middle pick on Sleeper, our team looks like Kyler Murray at QB. I love that. Derrick Henry, Javonte Williams, Tyjae Spears, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle at running back. We went hero RB with Derrick Henry, but we got some solid RB2s behind him, some upside guys on our bench. At wide receiver, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Tank Dell, and Jacoby Myers, a very solid wide receiver group there. And then, of course, we got a stud tight end with Evan Ingram. Loving this team. Do you want to win your fantasy league but don't have time to do all the research? Are you tired of drafting mediocre teams and then having to constantly hope you hit it big on the waiver wire just to compete? Do you wish you could have a fantasy expert like Pierre or myself with you while you draft? Well, now you can. With our app Draft Lane and our live draft pilot, we will guide you through every pick of your draft and tell you exactly which players we would pick if we were on the clock. Our proprietary algorithm will take into account your league settings, scoring, and roster requirements to identify the best picks every time you are on the clock to ensure you have a winning team from week one. It's the closest thing you can get to having us there drafting with you. Get the biggest edge in fantasy football. Just go to your app store and search for Draft Lane and download it today and get ready to dominate your draft. All right, now finally, if you get a late pick on Sleeper, don't fret. I love the late spot this year, and we're going to start with A.J. Brown at pick 9. Talked about him on that Yahoo video. I love what I'm seeing from this Eagles offense this offseason. I love what I think this Eagles offense is going to do, and I love the way they're going to use these wide receivers, both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So no problems with A.J. Brown as our wide receiver 1. And let's go with another wide receiver in round 2 because Puka Nacua falling to pick 16 right now. I guess people worried about that knee injury, but look, before the knee injury, this guy was a first-round pick. Now we're getting him at pick 16. I'm going to take the discount here. Sean McVay makes it sound like this guy is for sure going to be out there week 1. No problems at all. Take the injury discount on Puka Nacua at pick 16. Then let's go one more wide receiver in round 3 at pick 36, Jalen Waddle. Keep talking this guy up as a potential league-winning wide receiver this year. Nothing has made me change my mind. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be absolutely great. He's going to bounce back in a big way. So let's get Jalen Waddle as a potential league winner at our wide receiver 3. And then in round 4 at pick 38, let's grab our running back 1, and that is Rachaad White of the Bucs. He's still going to be the workhorse running back here. He's still going to catch a ton of passes. This offensive line has actually looked much better this preseason. Maybe his efficiency goes up slightly. I'm not worried about Bucky Irving stealing too many touches here. I think Rachaad White's still going to be a workhorse running back. So let's take him as our running back 1 in round 4. And then in round 5 at pick 57, let's get an upside wide receiver 4/flex, and that is George Pickens, the clear wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh. Whether it's Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, doesn't really matter to me because it's better than Kenny Pickett. He may still be a little volatile, but I think this year in this offense, he's going to have more consistency, and he's going to have those huge weeks. In our flex slot, that's exactly what we want. Now, since we did wait a little bit on our RB1, we probably need to start attacking running back a little earlier, but it's fine because in round 6 at pick 63, we can get James Conner, who's been nothing but great since he's gone to Arizona. Going to be the workhorse running back here. We haven't heard great things about Trey Benson. I'm not worried about anybody stealing touches from him early. So James Conner as our RB2, loving that. And then we get a running back I like even more in round 7 at pick 84, and that is Zamir White, going to be the unquestioned workhorse running back for the Raiders. Sure, it's not going to be one of the best offenses, but Antonio Pierce is going to give this guy 20-plus touches every week he can. And look, he had 9 catches over the last 4 games last year as a starter, so he will catch enough passes. He's got juice. He's got explosive ability. He's got touchdown upside. As our RB3, that feels good. Now, we've kind of waited on tight end, but it's okay because in round 8 at pick 86, we can get Jake Ferguson. This guy led all tight ends in red zone targets inside the 10, was one of the top target getters inside the 5-yard line, but he only scored 5 touchdowns last year. That could certainly change this year. What if that flips and he gets 10 touchdowns this year? This is what you want from a later round tight end, a guy who could score a touchdown on any given week. He's the clear number 2 in this offense. Feels great to get Jake Ferguson as our tight end 1 this late. Now in round 9 at pick 108, let's go back to running back with Brian Robinson Jr. of the Commanders. He's going to be the lead back in this offense. He's a capable pass catcher. He's got touchdown upside. Yes, there is worry about the offensive line, but I think the volume will make up for maybe the lack of efficiency here. The Commanders are going to play at one of the fastest paces this year. I think Brian Robinson is going to be an absolute steal at pick 109. Now, we've waited on QB, but that's okay with me because in round 10 at pick 115, we can get rookie Jaden Daniels, who could absolutely be a surprise in fantasy this year at QB. We know the rushing upside this guy has, over 1,100 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns last year in college. And I also love what they're doing with this guy this year in preseason. Get the ball out quick, short, accurate passes. This guy was one of the most accurate QBs in college last year as well. They know the offensive line is an issue. They're not going to have him sitting back there for 3, 4, 5 seconds while these routes develop. They're going to get the ball out quick. They're going to run a lot of snaps. This is going to be a sneaky good fantasy offense for fantasy, I think. Now in round 11 at pick 133, let's get one more wide receiver on our bench, and that is Josh Palmer. Going to probably be the lead wide receiver for the Chargers. I know a lot of people like Ladd McConkey. I do too. Quentin Johnston, we'll see. But I think Josh Palmer is probably going to be the wide receiver we want when it's all said and done. And we're getting him in round 11 here, so well worth that bench stash. And then finally in round 12, I feel like we need another running back that we at least can count on early in the season. Let's grab Chuba Hubbard at pick 135. More than likely going to be the lead back for Carolina to start the season. Jonathan Brooks, maybe week 3, maybe week 4, maybe later. And then when he's back, probably going to be eased into action, slowed into it. Chuba Hubbard should be the RB1 in Carolina for many weeks to start the season. So getting him on our bench as a potential bye week injury fill-in is what we're looking for. So looking at our team from the late spot, we got Jaden Daniels at QB. You know I love that. We got Rashad White, James Conner, Zamir White, Brian Robinson Jr., and Chuba Hubbard. For waiting on running back, I still love this running back room. Can feel good about all these guys. Then a wide receiver, we got A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, and then Josh Palmer on the bench. Those first 4 guys have the potential to win us weeks. Palmer, fine as a bye week fill-in on our bench. And then even though we waited on tight end, we still got Jake Ferguson, who I think at worst could be a top 10 tight end, if not a top 5 one. So there you go. That's exactly how I would draft my fantasy teams if I was picking middle, early, or late on Sleeper. But if you want to see exactly how I would do it on Yahoo or ESPN, you can find those videos right over here.